excited to be here. Yeah, proud to serve this great organization. Manny and I were just talking, as the only all-boys boarding school out here on the West Coast, this should be something that we're very familiar with, but it's a constant effort trying to stay abreast to what's going on. And what I'm referring to, as you'll see over the brief, we like to say we're the resident experts, but by the time in which your son completes this process, you become the resident expert on the latest and greatest in what it takes to make it. Okay? So, with that said, let me go ahead and back up a little bit and get started. So, again, welcome to session 1 of season 25. This is called the Road Less Traveled brief. Our goal today is merely just to get the information out there and start the conversation. Okay? All right. Pictured right here is me, obviously, in the center, with 5 of Army and Navy Academy's finest. They're currently attending the Citadel. And Lalo Martinez is a senior, one with his eyes closed right there. He's getting ready to graduate in May. Yeah. And then we got White Chigley queued up to go. I think Ricardo was thinking about going. There's only 2, Mark. Yeah, only 2 right now. Queued up to go. So as you can see, a Citadel is a good landing zone for our young men after they, progressed here at Army Navy Academy. It's the finest institution. Very proud of it. Next slide, please. All right, so a little bit about your ROTC instructors here at A&A. Man, you want to go ahead and talk to the slide, folks?
Yeah, really quick though, on a show of hands, how many of you all have individuals serving in the military? How many of you all, yeah, family. How many of y'all know about the ROTC process, scholarship process? A few, right? Handful? I'm just trying to identify who the audience is, right? But more importantly, what I want to point out here on this slide, take a minute to look at that slide, please. And look at the quick bios. Now those bios are the same guys in the picture right here. But what I want to point out is there's a wealth of experience, right? Look at that, 25 years, 27 years, 30 years. We have one guy make it to the top, E1 through E9. So as you can see, there's a wealth of military experience, right? And each one of us were active duty, because I think that's important to know that as well. That was our life. For 20 plus years, we lived the military life. And believe it or not, we're still living that military life. We still are. We're giving back. But now we're giving back to the boys, right? When we were in, we were giving to our nation, right? We were supporting and defending the Constitution of the United States of America. And that's kind of us now in our second part of our career. We bring a wealth of experience. We have infantry guy, a tanker guy, artillery guy. And so we're all combat arms. So we understand the essence of hard work. We truly do. And so because of that, we understand the boys, right? We understand the human dimension. And so as Colonel Scarborough mentioned, our goal is to get your son to the next level, right? And sometimes it's a bumpy path, but we're going to get them to the next level. Hopefully they utilize this process called ROTC scholarship or military academy. With that said,
Okay.
any questions on that before I move on?
Hey, pardon me, Ethan. Cadet Colonel Ethan Shadadi, our current battalion commander here, is here to help us and to speak firsthand about the process. Okay, newly promoted Cadet Colonel. Okay, thanks, Ethan. Let's go. And I got to give some flowers to Ethan right now. Throughout his tenure, you started your 9th grade, yeah? Throughout his tenure, he trusted us. He stayed committed. He did exactly the things we said we're getting ready to talk about. And the loyalty and the progress, the achievements. I mean, you got a bright future ahead, brother. And honored to grind every day here at the academy with you. All right. Couple of things real quick. Again, we want to encourage you guys to conduct your own independent research to validate some of our findings Chief already alluded to our experience. We do have a great deal of experience, but we recognize we're a learning organization. No perfect person, no perfect organization. So through your accountability and ours, we will refine the direction, refine, the requirements, and help, turn that dream of that young man into reality. But as you can tell, like I said, this process continues to evolve, both the academy side as well as the ROTC scholarship process. So it takes ongoing collaboration between instructors, parents, kids, as well as the institution. Now, mind you, the institution, they don't have time to talk to everyone, right? So a lot of times they will refer you to the internet, have your son establish a portal, review the websites, and so that's their means of collaboration. And, you need to hit them with the tougher questions that they cannot answer by way of the internet technology. Again, please make sure you sign in, because we want to maintain communication with you. By show of hands, how many 11th grade parents do we have in the audience today? Okay, great. Yep. You guys are the ones that we need to be talking to, so I'm glad you're here today. Yeah? Let's see, today's goal, again, is to improve your understanding of the process so that you can make an informed decision. I mean, if it's not for your son, it could be for someone else, okay? And so, this is about spreading the word. And it can be a little bit complicated, but through the stories that we like to talk about, different anecdotes, we would like to provide hope and inspiration for you to make it through the process and see if the shoe fits. Lastly, we want to challenge you to take the initiative and go for it. Chief talked about it to me yesterday. There's so many scholarships that are out there that remain untouched, okay? And so, put your name out there. A lot of kids, they come to us, hey, I want to be in this service or that service. Well, let's apply for everything and let's see which service gives us what, and then we can make a decision on where to go. Next slide, please.
So guys, as you guys are aware, we just went through our JPA, which is our JROTC program of accreditation. And we received the HUD, which is a unit with the distinction. We scored a 99.75, almost perfect, all right? We were almost perfect, and I asked the boys, but I asked the boys for perfection, and they came through pretty close. They got us on the little thing, but nevertheless, our boys performed marvelously, and I want you all to know that, right? And so we're very proud of that, because we do this inspection every 3 years, right? Prior to that, 3 years ago, we got a 99.50. Now, I say that because when I first got here, we got a 93.7, right? We lost our gold star. And I'll never forget that day, because I was here when the boys were crying. So you had 270 boys crying because we lost our gold star, right? Because that gold star means a lot to the boys. And then you add 275, and then you add, 2 parents times that. There was a lot of phone calls. A lot of phone calls. And I swore to myself that day, and Colonel Scarborough can attest to it, that we would never fail the boys again. Because, as I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it, there was an instructor that let the boys down. There was an instructor that let the boys down. The boys did what they had to do. And so, we did everything within our power to make sure we're successful. And maybe one day we'll get 100 out of 100. But I'm going to tell you, 99.75 is pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. So, and it's a testament to guys like Colonel Shaddai, right? Our battalion commander, our leader of the cadets. And so, with kids like this and up-and-comers like Marvin Wilson, right? Up-and-comers, our academy is in good hands, and I want you parents to know that. These boys are our future, right? And so, these numbers mean a lot. This JPA meant a lot to our boys. They came through, and so now, our seniors are going to move on to the next level, which is obviously college and beyond. So with that, next slide.
Well, let me talk real quick. So why were they crying? So the honor unit with distinction, if you're not familiar with that, it enables our president to submit a nomination to the academy. Okay, and I'm going to get into the process of talking about that soon. But essentially, there's congressional nomination, senator nomination, vice presidential nomination, and JROTC nominations. And so the more nominations that your son can achieve, the higher the likelihood that he eventually gets an appointment to the academy, yeah? And so that's why the kids were upset. I mean, a school like ours, all boys boarding school, as you guys may know, we're the only one on the West Coast. And with that said, the name, Army Navy Academy, it just calls everybody to be the best version of themselves. And so, I think you called me after you guys, that disappointing score, and you're like, hey man, I need you out here. I was in Hawaii, teaching at an all-boys Catholic school. And yeah, I recognize the weight. And this guy right here to my left, man, we've served together for over 25 years. It's my brother. His daughter's like babysitted my boys when they were little, you know, caring for them and what have you. Yeah. So it's my battle, you know. It's my battle. It's why I get up every day. I don't want to disappoint my brother. So. Anyway, that again, we should never lose that. If we are who we say we are, Army Navy Academy, we should be the best. There's no other school in the West Coast like us. And so, not to mention, you guys pay a lot of money to send your kids here. And us as parents, we think about that every day. Are we doing the things that equate to the amount of money and effort and time that you guys put into this? And so that weighs on our shoulders every day. And we really want to do right by your sons, and you know what I mean? Help you guys have a better life, a strong community. Yep. Slide. All right, so this is the campaign. This is starting year 2 of it all. So session 1 is today. It's an info session. Session 2 will be done on the 4th of June, after your son goes home. You know, after the school year. I planned that one intentionally because now your son's in your hands, okay? And I know there's communication issues when he's here and making sure he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, but now he's in the comfort of your home, doesn't have school or homework to worry about, and he can, you know, have those hard conversations. He can get to work on his physical fitness. He can reflect on where he's at and where he's going. Okay, so for June, I want to get together with this cohort here, especially my 11th grade families. And basically, it's more or less a question and response. Okay, I would like for you to do your homework between now and then, or you can obviously contact us at any time. But come up with those good questions so that we can respond and we can continue to stay on azimuth to get to where we're trying to go. And then come homecoming weekend, okay, homecoming weekend, which is October, we will get together for session 3 and I'll do my best, we'll do our best to get all of these Service Academy admissions officers and recruiters right here, okay? Right here for you to hear firsthand so you can validate your findings, you know what I mean? Making sure that we're on track to meeting where we're trying to go. Any questions on the campaign known as ROTC? No? Good? Awesome. Picture there, Raven Mayava. He's one of my first students to go to Coast Guard Academy. He's currently Ensign Mayava, stationed down in Puerto Rico. I do not know the Navy vessel, or the Coast Guard vessel in which he's on, but the one on the right went to Harvard, and I left before I could get the story on the daughter. But beautiful family there. Next slide. Okay, so this was a snapshot of who was here.
Of a daily life of a West Point cadet, and so when they do come to active duty, they are head and shoulders above the rest initially, right? So those are, and then obviously under all those 3 pillars, overall develop their character, right? They want character of officers of great character. That's the model.
Manny, I want to add, that's the model really of all these schools. You know what I mean? All of them are saying the same thing, just a little bit differently. And then, yeah, I can remember the first time I went to West Point and I saw all those big neck guys. And I was like, wow, enamored by it.
Yeah.
But little interesting fact on my tenure, tried to play football at the Citadel, my shoulders kept popping out, so I had to give that up. During my 4 years at the Citadel, we beat West Point twice in football. First junior year by 2 points, senior year by 1. And I saw them as our competition. You know what I mean? Coming up through the ranks, I thought of them as our competition. But really, West Point is the foundation. It's the starting point. Remember where we started on our brief? 1778, 1802. So without West Point, there is no Army Navy Academy. There is no ROTC. And so I proudly wear the West Point shirt because I've got, you know, a handful of students that are there, even though it was my competition as a young man.
That rivalry.
Say again?
It's that rivalry.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah.
Never go away.
Next slide. Yep, let's go. If I get any away, just yell at me. Yeah, all that good stuff that says I'm good. No, go back in. So yeah. The guy I'm most impressed with is Mike Krzyzewski, 1969, West Point grad, played ball at West Point, as you guys know, legendary basketball coach. Coach K is, I guess, our generation of Coach Wooden, you know what I mean? Rhodes Scholar, anybody know what a Rhodes Scholar is? Done a little bit of research on it. Sir?
Scholarship to go spend a year at Oxford University.
Yes, sir, yes, sir. Given out to 100 college students per year. 100 or 32? I think it's 100, maybe 32 for Americans. Yeah, prestigious honor. Okay, sir, you know any Rhodes Scholars that graduated?
Personally, or
No,
by name?
by name.
Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton, Bill Bradley,
Chris Christopherson.
Chris Christopherson,
Really?
music singer. Yes, Susan Rice. What's her name? Rice.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Not Condoleezza, but the other Rice. I think it's Susan.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, huge honor, right? Huge honor to go to Oxford and get a degree through the Rhodes Scholar Program. So they will offset their military obligation in order to send them to further school for advancement. Okay, and what do you think that does when, you guys know, if the military is investing in you for education, what do you think is going to happen as far as his career? Progress. Yeah. She kind of talked about all these West Point guys, they had these opportunities to go to grad school. I'm like, why aren't they picking you? Well, they know you're a 2.0 and go guy, all right? These cats, they went to West Point, they're excelling, we got to continue to educate them. Those are our future colonels. Those are our future generals. Yeah. Next slide. Slide. Yeah, that's kind of the same storyline here, you know, Army Navy Academy. Get up early, do a lot, go to bed early. You know. Next slide. Yeah. Student to faculty ratio 7-to-1, 36 academic majors. Justin, look at all that later. Whole bunch of activities, clubs, and sports to get involved in, find your niche. Work on your leadership.
And there's females.
You guys know. These are the different jobs in which your young man would be able to take in the Army. Okay, here we go, the process. So you must be a U.S. citizen. Okay, must be a U.S. citizen for both the academies as well as an ROTC scholarship, as well as even enlisting. Okay, 2017 is when they stopped allowing non-U.S. citizens to join. Okay, so we had a kid here a couple years ago, Dimitri Lutke, just lived north of Seattle and Vancouver. Great cadet, Alpha Company commander, right? And couldn't get him in the military. Kind of sucked. Can't be married, cannot have a kid. Cannot have a kid. Before, during, after, okay. Next slide. Okay. Application window is open now for my 11th grade families, okay? Application window pretty much starts February 1st with the initial questionnaire, all right? And it closes on the 31st of January, okay? Sir?
Is it rolling admissions?
No, sir. No, sir, it closes on the 31st of January.
So wait, applications for the military academies, not for the ROTC?
That's correct, ma'am. You're absolutely right. The window for the ROTC scholarship, it opens right around the first week of June. Okay? Which is why we're gonna do that Zoom meeting. I'm gonna remind you guys, yeah, get ready, the window's getting ready to open. Had a question in the back?
Yeah, if they apply to the summer leadership experience.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Does that count as that preliminary act too, or?
No, it's a separate thing.
But that kind of pertains to the leadership part, where we talk about extracurricular activities. Now, on that note, I would say those kids that get selected for that, if they perform well during that time in the summer, they get what they call a letter of assurance, right? Which almost guarantees if they pass the medical, if they meet these qualifications, they're for sure footed.
Oh, sorry, because my daughter's a junior and she applied, so.
Yeah.
If she got waitlisted, what's the likelihood that she might get into that?
I don't know.
That's,
I don't know. That's like.
we don't wanna speculate, ma'am, that's, yeah.
I know for the,
I'm coming in, ma'am.
for the Navy, they said if you applied, not for the camp, but the summer seminar, if you're accepted to the summer seminar, that is your application survey. You don't need to fill out the questionnaire.
Okay.
If you're not accepted for the summer seminar, then you have to go back and fill out that survey.
Oh, okay.
Just, I don't know if the Army's different, but that's the Navy.
In my experience, the two individuals that I know went to the summer camp,
Summer seminar?
summer seminar at West Point. One got selected at West Point. And the second one would have got selected at West Point, but he got disqualified when it came to his medical. Yeah, that hurt. But that was the only thing that took him out, was his medical.
And by the way, medical, by referring to medical, you're not talking about physical fitness, we're talking
No,
about.
the medical process will evaluate your body,
Got it.
and you got him for some type of medication he had taken years ago. It sucked.
Let's talk more, specifically about that.
Well, when I recall, he took some type of,
Yeah.
ADHD, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was a kind of a normal thing at a time when they were giving to a majority of kids.
They say
That-
that you
but-
have to be 2 years clean from that.
Yes, 2 years.
2 years clean from any.
So I have a question about that. There's been a lot of press lately about the fact that the numbers in the military are dwindling, that they're having trouble, that the recruiting numbers are down, and that there's a need to encourage young people to join. Is it possible that they're gonna they'll consider relaxing some of those qualifications? For instance, 2 years off of an ADHD, that is a long time for a high schooler. I mean, that would really, accommodations for the SAT and ACT. I'm told that you have, to get an ROTC scholarship, you have to test in at a certain point, on the ACT or the SAT.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
But without accommodations. And that's, so I'm wondering if you heard any murmuring in your,
Yeah, those are things out of our control.
I understand that, I'm just
Like,
wondering if they're considering relaxing any of those.
They ain't heard nothing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Especially about the medical part.
Yeah.
It was very disturbing because that was a year ago. And like you said, Kumo was kind of down, and you thought, this kid took that medication in 10th grade.
Yeah.
Why are they still holding it against him? And he was off of it. Yes, it makes sense to me, I can tell you, it was very disappointing.
Yes, ma'am.
What's a field force representative?
Field force representative, what is a field force
I'm
representative?
looking at this application timeline,
Uh-huh.
and because we're sophomores still,
Yeah.
it says by December of junior year, you need to contact your field force representative, obviously take the SAT in December of
That would be
junior.
the representative.
So that's, is that just
How do
adult?
you do?
Field Force representative is, it's an alumni from the academy, and they're kind of dispersed around the country, and they're gonna interview your kid, and that interview will go into their application.
How do you contact Who are these?
They will actually contact you. So once you open your application, I know that when I applied to West Point, they waited till my senior year, but I just got a call from them.
Okay.
And because I live in Arizona, my rep was back in Phoenix.
Okay.
So we did it on Zoom, and they want to interview your kid and kind of see if they're right fit with the academy. It's just another part of the application.
So Major Rich Mendoza is the West Point Regional Admissions Officer. We're in contact with him routinely. And then like Ethan was saying, there's several, not just alumni, anyone can serve as a military academy liaison officer. I think I'm gonna probably take on those duties soon. And like he said, make sure, making sure the candidate meets the profile, provide my assessment to the field force rep so that they can make a better decision. Because obviously the field force rep can't go all over the West Coast to interview each kid, yeah? Good questions. Had another question, yes ma'am?
For the, I don't know what it was called, but for the summer program in
Yes.
junior year?
Yes, ma'am.
Does the school help them, help the kids apply?
No. No. You gotta take the initiative to do it yourself. You gotta go to the website, and you gotta meet the timelines, for that window. Yeah.
The instructions are very clear. He applied in January. It's very, very
Straightforward.
clear. Yep,
But isn't, the deadline's the end of this month, right?
yeah.
So, for Navy, I don't know about for West Point.
For next summer?
Oh, for this summer.
Oh, yeah.
West Point priority was last week, and they've already sent.
Made the decision,
They've
yeah.
already sent decisions.
Yeah.
For this summer.
For this summer, and like my daughter's was competitive, but was still waitlisted, because she took too long to apply, because they're
Yeah.
rolling.
We spoke with CNN, Cadet News Network, and from what I understand, we got two kids, two juniors going there. Brendan Teo and Matthew Spears. They're going through a summer leadership experience. Yeah, for West Point.
They just got notified. And then on Friday, I just got the email today.
How many applied?
Those are the only two I knew that applied, and they both got it.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Question, have you ever had a cadet who applies to two service academies?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's usually Air Force and Navy. It's between the three, right?
Yeah.
It's usually to Air Force, Navy, and West Point.
So you have?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
I would apply to multiple. If I was to do it all over again, I would apply to multiple and, multiple service ROTCs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And then, once it's all, you complete all the requirements, then you make your decision,
decision, right.
right? But don't limit yourself before you even start the process. All right? Slide. Try to pick it up. Again, you gotta get medically qualified. That's a huge part of the equation. Okay, like you said, ma'am, beyond the scope of the physical fitness test, you gotta make sure your son is medically qualified. Is he fit to join the military? Does he have some, past history of stuff that, could potentially, make him disqualified, or make him unable, incapable of serving?
One big thing on this one, I know the Dogmer is universal for all the service academies. One big thing on this is that, as you can see, it takes 3 or 4 months just for the initial screening, and then, God forbid they find something, you can submit an appeal, right? But that appeal process has to go through the academy, then back to Dogmer, then back to the academy. It probably takes around another month or 2. So you want to do this as early as possible, because that appeal has to be done by the same deadline as the medical examination. So that was a big, we have one senior trying to get an appeal right now, and we're out to, we're just gonna get it done in time.
Is this number just for West Point?
No,
No.
no.
No,
for
for
all
all,
the
for all
academies.
students.
You gotta do it for the
All
whole.
service
Oh,
academies,
for ROTC as well?
Yeah, you gotta pass the medical.
ROTC by branch. But Navy does it for ROTC, I don't think Army does.
You gotta do it for Army too, because Hunter Edmonds had issues with his eyes, right?
Oh, yeah, we do a general physical.
Yeah.
The physical applies for any branch, or each branch
Yes,
has
sir.
their own
Yes,
specific
sir.
ones?
You gotta pass the medical for,
But that's why,
Academies
not
and-
each one has their own specific.
Yes, sir.
Oh, they do, each one
Yeah.
you have to apply, do their own.
yes.
So,
No, well, I mean, just like there's a military entrance MEPS, you know, when, they recruit kids off the street, even though there's different, like, recruiters, Air Force, Navy, they all go to the same doctor, so I think it's the same thing for the officers, yeah.
For my ROTC, I went to like a local like pediatrician, and it was kind of like a physical therapy. And then for the West Point one, I had to go out to like military base and go see my doctor there.
Okay, so this part of the process, Chief and I, we have no idea of. This is where you gotta just take the initiative, you gotta stay on it between you and your son, and make sure he's hitting all of the gates, okay?
One more quick question about this. Is there one on, can we look at the qualifications, disqualifications online so that is there a list?
Yes.
You can
There's
say-
like 200 different.
No, there's 600.
600.
Seriously? Okay,
Seriously.
and you just Google up this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Naval website has about a 2-pager that summarizes by categories, but you can also find the full checklist with the medical codes and all that. There's like
Oh,
600.
great, okay.
I had to get disqualified for accident.
For what?
Accident.
Oh, good for it.
Yeah, it was crazy. It didn't even make sense.
So they don't really want it.
Yeah, it goes, you know,
Okay, again, these are the different types of nominations that your son can achieve. Every candidate is eligible for at least one congressional nomination, 2 senator nominations, the vice presidential nomination. Okay, those are the big congressional nominations. And then he's also eligible, like we talked about earlier, because of our Honor Unit Distinction Award, he's eligible to receive an ROTC or JROTC nomination from Army Navy Academy. The more nominations in which your son achieves, the greater chances are of him getting an appointment into the academy, okay? With that said, Tate Meyer last year, because his brother was already excelling at West Point, he only utilized the JRTC nomination. He got into West Point on solely the JRTC nomination. Superior academic, aptitude scores, and just one nomination, and he got it. Yes, ma'am.
So for like the congressional senator, maybe you could explain like,
Yeah, how do you go about finding out who's your congressman and all that kind of stuff?
and like, do you just write them a letter or call them? Don't they get bombarded by a million people?
It's all process.
Ethan's gonna talk that for you, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll talk about this more in a little bit, but, there's a whole portal. It's just like submitting a college app. They're gonna ask you for like letters of recommendation, transcripts, all that kind of stuff. And then you're gonna submit that all, and then there's a deadline, and they'll decide who they give nominations to. It's pretty selective, so I applied to all of the congressional ones, like even the vice president, I threw it out there. Because if you don't get one of these, you do have your HUD, so thankfully, you still will be able to apply, but it's a lot better for your application to have, both of them.
Did you contact them prior to starting the process that they outlined online? You did? How did you go about that?
I went to their office in person. I spoke to them in person.
Did you make an appointment or?
Oh, you can. I kind of just walked over there.
that's probably the best way to do it, to be honest with you. You make an appointment, you never know when you get an appointment, but if he walks in and says, hey, I want you the information, they're gonna set him in the right direction. I'm telling you, that's the way it works.
So the next time that you two go rock climbing, can you tell him how you did that?
Wait, so you walked in, you walked,
Later tonight.
sorry. So you walked into a senator's office and you just said hi?
Well, I was in Arizona, so it was, at the time, it was Kirsten Cinema. Now she's not in the office anymore, but we just went to the, Arizona, state building, and we looked to the front desk and we asked, if we could, speak to them. They're pretty easy with us.
So the traditional way of figuring this out is, Google your zip code,
Yeah.
congressional, senator, representatives, figure out who's in your local area, go to their website. They have a process on their website for that, and timeline and what have you. Okay? But hold on one second, Mark. And so, as you can see up here, they manage 15 candidates, right? And so, if they nominate someone, they get in, they accept it, they stay with them for 4 years until they graduate. Okay? He graduates, now they get that, another nomination based upon that kid completing, yeah. And so it's a constant process of maintaining 15 candidates. Does that make sense for everyone?
We do the breakdown is per year, but
They do it, say again?
what do you think the breakdown is of candidates per year?
Yeah, I think it's about 5. Yeah, I think it's about 5. Does that make sense for everybody? Yeah. Mark, what you got?
So, for you, I know you did it for Arizona, but why you didn't do it for like here?
California?
I don't have residence here.
Yeah.
So you can only apply for
Within your district.
centers that you have residence in.
That's a good
Yes.
point. That often comes up every year, Mark. That's a great question. Kids think, okay, well, I go to school at Army Navy, and I figure out, you know, which one's more competitive, and then use that. You can hit it right on the head, wherever you're on the resume.
And that's a great point, because I've seen that happen here too. We'll have kids that excel here, and they're superstars, but they come from a very competitive district,
Yeah.
right? And they gotta go through their local congressman. I mean, obviously, they can go through the senator as well. But because they come from a very competitive district, so if you might be here and you're great, but now you actually live in Orange County, you fall under that district, you're competing with those kids within that school district, or within that district, if that makes sense.
So even though Army and Navy says that for the California school, university system, you're considered as a graduate of Army and Navy to be a California resident when applying to those schools, that does not mean you're a resident in terms of your appeal to your
It
congressperson.
doesn't, no.
Okay.
Now, you're here and you excel, but you come from a district, say Wyoming, and you have a pretty good chance.
Right.
Competition.
Right.
I know, that's just the way.
And then also, like, the service-connected nominations include veterans who are 100% disabled, Gold Star families, they have a presidential nomination, if I'm not mistaken, and career children of military. Next slide, please. All right, we kind of talked about this already. What's that, a QR code right there if you want to learn more about the summer leadership experience. Okay, understand this whole seminar thing between the 11th and 12th grade is the traditional opportunity to kind of understand these different academies, but they're reaching as low as the 9th grade, 8th grade now with these STEM programs at these academies. Okay, Cole Conan, who's a freshman, last summer went to Naval Academy's STEM program. And we're waiting to hear whether or not he's gonna get into the West Point STEM program this summer. You know, just see it, smell it, breathe it, another opportunity to make a name for himself, build a reputation. And yeah, he's looking very strong as the future VC a couple years from now. So here's a little on the demographics of the class of 2027. Which would be juniors right now, sophomores at West Point. You can see, kind of like we just talked about here at A&A, how many kids actually end up doing these. This is how many opened up an application. Okay, and of that, a third received a nomination. Okay, and then you move from, after you receive the nomination, you move on to being qualified, and then broken down to actually admitted. Okay, roughly about 1,000 cadets per class at West Point, just over 1,000 is what we're looking for. Of that, almost 1,300, only 76 were valedictorians of their schools. Contrary to population. God bless you. Okay, but you can see a couple of commonalities here. Varsity athletics, almost 100% of them did some form of varsity athletics. And then I would say over half of that, they were team captains. You can see the breakdown between minorities, women, first generation students, and then 9% are soldiers. Okay, again, we talked about that green to gold program. Green to gold is for ROTCs, but this is different. Okay, this is going to West Point as an enlisted guy. And believe it or not, this is one of the easiest ways to get into West Point, is by enlisting into the military, proving yourself, and, you know, that commander, that first sergeant selecting you as a potential candidate to go to West Point. One of the easiest, we call it the backdoor way to get into West Point.
So on that 9%, a quick story. I had a guy, a personal friend of mine. He's from LA. He gets caught in a stolen vehicle. Goes in front of the judge. Judge says, "You going?" This was back in the day. "You go in the Army or you go to jail?" He says, "I want to go in the Army." Goes in the Army on a GED. GED, goes in the Army 1 year. They said, "Anybody interested in West Point?" He raises his hand, takes all the tests. He gets accepted to West Point, to the prep school. So he goes there for a year, does this 4 years. As he always told me, Manny, it was the hardest thing I've ever did. But he made it to West Point, and the guy retired as a colonel, 06 colonel, after 30 years. 30 years. Commanded at all the different levels, all the way to brigade command. What a hell of a story, right? What a story. Caught stealing cars, boom, retires as a colonel. Went to the most prestigious military academy probably in the world, West Point, right? So there's so much opportunity, because oftentimes what I hear from parents is, my little Johnny, he just doesn't know what he really wants to do. Or guess what, my little Johnny's still knuckling. So there's opportunities of going into the military, and then once again, the light bulb comes on. Holy moly, there's all those opportunities, let me take advantage of it. And so, that's an awesome, I mean, it's a low percent, 9% is not a whole lot, but still, point that out because that guy was such an inspiration. Tell me more about it. It's good stuff.
What's the typical GPA and SAT scores?
GPA, we got a lot on that.
You just went to apply for West Point. The average SAT score and that GPA.
Pretty sure the average SAT is somewhere around 1350.
I think we got a slide on that.
Yeah. And then your GPA for West Point, Naval, all the service academies is pretty high. It's going to be anywhere around a 3.7 to 4.0 unweighted. So as far as academics go, it does play a big role in the application. Sure.
Yep, we got some data up here.
That was the end of that side.
Okay, that's the end of that. At least we got data for ROTC scholarships, so we'll go into that. All right. Are you want to talk here?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Good morning, everyone. As he mentioned, my name is Vishwadani. They're giving you some slides to talk about here, but I'm also going to try and go into what I recently went through. So I recently applied to both West Point and for Senior Army ROTC scholarships. So I think I have kind of a good idea on what you need to do now to do that. So overall, first bullet point is really important. This takes a lot of time, and you need to start like in a couple weeks, if not now, on starting these applications. I know for a lot of you guys that want to go to service academies, your senators and your congressional will open before the service academies is open. Some of them are going to be in a couple weeks. So filling those out is really important, because as it says here, the early bird gets the worm. It's really true. With a lot of these senators and all these things, they're selecting some of their nominations before the deadline hits. So some of them treat it rolling, some of them treat it, you gotta find out about your senator. But the quicker you apply, you're gonna better your chances. I know for West Point specifically, with their acceptance process, it's similar to rolling in a way, where once you submit your full packet to West Point, they look at your thing and they choose to accept it or not. So the quicker you submit that application, the better off you're gonna be. On your application, it's really important to have diversity as far as your academic achievements, leadership achievements. As they said, varsity sports are really important. If you're not already involved, get involved in a athletic activity, because they really like to see that in the teamwork and the athletic ability. As far as your PT test goes, as I say, overall for service academies, during the summer, you do your senator, train for your PT test, and take the SAT. The SAT or the ACT, I think they get both, right? So leaning into ROTC, if you want to do the ROTC scholarship, the way it works for Army is there's gonna be 3 like waves of, boards. So there's 3 different deadlines for you to hit, and then each deadline is another board where you have a chance of getting a scholarship. So if you wanna do that first deadline, you need to take the SAT either in this upcoming one or over the summer, because there's not a on-campus standardized test before the deadline of that board. So if you don't take the test, you can't submit it. So make sure you get your standardized testing in. I think that's the main things I would do for now. And then you gotta pass your physical fitness test. Baseline to getting in.
When's the deadline for the first board?
Sorry?
When's the deadline for the first board? The deadline for the first board?
I think it's within like the first or second month of school. It's pretty early.
Talking about ROTC?
Yeah, it's
October. Yeah, there's 3 boards for the ROTC scholarship, October, January, March. Yep. We're gonna get into that a little bit more. Chief, you wanna talk about how hard the CFA is in comparison to the physical fitness test for the ROTC scholarship?
Okay, so the CFA is Cadet Fitness Assessment Test, and so, or Candidate Fitness Assessment Test, it consists of 5 events. 5 events, and it's a timed event, so you gotta do all 5 events within a certain time period. It consists of push-ups, sit-ups, a shuttle run, 1 mile run, but the hardest one is the pull-ups. You gotta do pull-ups. So, that's where I see most of our cadets struggle. The average kid that gets accepted at West Point does an average between 8 to 9 pull-ups, right? And it's from a dead hang, and you go up and you come down, and that's probably the toughest part. I see cadets, mind you, it's weighted 10% of the overall application process. So here's what I've been told by some of the recruiters. It's only 10% of the overall weighted to get into the school. However, you fill 1 event, you're done, right? You fill 1 event. What does that mean? I've seen cadets, I wanna go to West Point, I'll go to West Point, academic inclined, done everything right. They go to do a pull-up and they just hang. Here's the most important thing to that. Why is that important? Because the pull-ups and the push-ups are videotaped. So we have to videotape the cadets doing it and submit that to West Point or to the Naval Academy. So it's on video. So I can't say, oh, Cadet Shadati, he did 9 pull-ups, okay. He really probably did maybe 7, but he did a little bit of effort. No, it's all videotaped.
On that point, they were really, really harsh about pull-ups specifically. So this is why I say train over the summer, because I actually had to submit mine twice. I had the same count both times, but essentially, when you're doing your pull-ups, if you like move your legs at all, or you like buck your hips at all, or do like anything that the person doesn't like watching the video, they'll just go to your portal and say they do it. And then you have to reschedule with someone who can give you the PT test. So you gotta train for these pull-ups and make sure that your whole body is like absolutely still. A good number to shoot for is 10. That's the one that I shot for.
Now, I would say to you in LET, what I do on Fridays at 6:30, I offer an opportunity for all the juniors, or anybody for that matter, to come and do a little PT session. I do at 6:30 here on campus, or by the JROTC building, and that's the very first thing we do is pull-ups. In addition to that, what I started doing, and juniors know about this, 15 minutes of our class on any day after Monday, 15 minutes is focused on physical fitness. So what do they have to do? I call it the 10, 50, and 100. You gotta do 10 pull-ups, 50 push-ups, and 100 jumping jacks, right? And this is on them. And this is to get them geared, right, a little bit of physical fitness. But it's just kind of to get a gauge of where they're at, especially when it comes to pull-ups. But more importantly, for those kids that are really focused on academy, right? This is so they know where they gotta get to. And that goes back to that road list travel thing. This is where we need the parents, especially over the summer. Pull-ups are hard, they're hard.
Yeah, and
Yes.
Is this for the ROTC scholarship as well as certificate?
No.
yeah, so the ROTC
A
scholarship,
lot easier.
the physical test is not recorded and there's no pull-ups.
Yeah, and it's just push-ups, sit-ups, and a 1 mile run.
Yeah, and so that one is its own
That was easy.
easy thing.
Yeah.
Even I could pass.
The ROTC,
CrossFit pull-ups are okay?
1 minute of push-ups, 1 minute of sit-ups, and a 1 mile run. Real easy.
1 mile run under,
As fast as you can. So, yeah. But I want to go back to the West Point CFA. 1 year I had a cadet who was a football player, Samoan guy, and he could not do any pull-ups. I mean, this guy could bench press, refrigerator, but he could not do any pull-ups.
Wait.
Yeah. And when it came to the basketball throw, he could throw it probably a half mile. He got into West Point. He graduated from West Point. Yeah, and so all they want your young man to do is give us your all and let them make a decision. You know what I mean? As to yay or nay. Don't just say you're not gonna make it because you can't do 8 pull-ups. Okay? So, as you kind of said, ma'am, there's almost an exception to every rule out there. It's all about being postured, being the best version of yourself, and putting it out there and letting the powers that be make a decision. Okay?
Our
Yes, ma'am.
family are all football.
Yeah.
They all got into West Point.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they didn't qualify for a lot of the things that we're saying.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
To me, athletics
Yes,
is
ma'am.
probably number one. And they're laughing because they didn't have the GPA.
Yeah,
They didn't have the SAT.
yeah,
I don't know if they can do the pull-ups, but they were standout football players.
yeah.
Yep, and they all graduated West Point.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
I don't know where all this, I don't know. It's,
Yeah. Well,
who
bottom line,
knows?
I think,
Just apply.
I hear what you're saying.
Just apply.
Cause you got, one uncle went to, one went to
They all-
Citadel, one to West Point.
Yeah, West Point.
Whole lineage, right? Whole
They all
family.
did.
So I'll tell you guys this. This is the normal cadet way of getting in. If you're a special athlete, there's a different way of getting in. And these rules that we're going over may not apply.
I'd say the main thing for the 3 cadets in the room, that you guys can also tell your kids, if you want to apply to West Point or Naval or any service academy, go Google what the actual test is and go do it in your backyard or something. Because you may think you can do like 10 pull-ups, but you're gonna have to do 10 pull-ups in a time period with a push-up test, with the run,
Yeah.
with the basketball throw.
3 minutes rest in between those 5 events, 8 minutes rest before the 1 mile run, which is the last event. Like Chief said, I had a valedictorian 1 year. SAT, everything right. And this kid, I told him, Eddie, get your butt out of here and go do the practice, the PT test. I'm good, sir. I'm a basketball player. I'm good. Freaking, I remember it like clear as day. He did everything. He got to that last 1 mile run. He quit. He didn't go to West Point because he could not run 1 mile within the expected time. And everything else.
Different levels.
Like Ethan alluded to. Yeah, you can knock out a whole bunch of push-ups in 2 minutes, but it's the load of all 6 of those events is what stresses people out. And you cannot equate any sport to the magnitude of that CFA. Yes, sir.
Speaking of that as well, that 1 mile run that comes at the end, is that wearing athletic equipment or is that wearing like uniform?
No, no.
Athletic
Athletic shoes,
Athletic,
shorts.
just- okay.
Yes, sir.
Wear a tank top.
You have to.
I'm not gonna wear anything. He's gonna be doing it.
That's just PG.
Okay,
I think West Point would find it funny if you did it in the combat uniform.
I get them in. 10
Yeah,
pounds.
right? Why not?
Extra points.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Okay, so now we're gonna take a deep dive into the ROTC process for you. You guys need a break? No. No, we're okay? Okay. So, we got a friend out there on the East Coast who gave me these slides. He kind of works for grade level ROTC, so oversees the colleges on the East Coast. And I have no idea who Ken Surratt is, but I will take responsibility for anything up here I do not know. Let's go. That's it. Yeah, this is it right here. So, ROTC board opens 12 June. Every year it fluctuates the date, but right around the first, second week in June. And then closes, 10 January. Okay, the minimum requirements, I say again, minimum, BC average, 2.5, 1,000 on the SAT, 19 on the ACT. Okay, those are the minimum requirements. And we'll go over the demographics as to what it takes to actually receive a scholarship at the end of this. Need to make sure you conduct a PMS interview, right? Ethan and I talked about this. A lot of cadets, they kind of forget about the need to conduct a PMS interview. So who is a PMS? Think of like Chief and I at the college level. Every university has an ROTC department led by a military guy or gal. They have responsibility locally to interview the cadets beyond the scope of the ones at their school. Okay, it's like a community responsibility, area of responsibility. Okay, so cadets will call them up, say, I want to do a PMS interview. They'll either get interviewed by the head guy, who's the professor of military science, that's what it stands for, or the recruiting operations officer will conduct the interview. Okay, and that's after they have done the PT test, after they have submitted all of the administrative requirements.
Yeah, so when you start your ROTC scholarship, you're gonna get like a checklist on the portal. And then once you submit every single checklist item, it's not even listed there, but that's where you're gonna do your PMS interview. One piece of advice I'd say is, when you apply for the scholarship, they're gonna give you like 5 like preferred schools, and you're gonna like rank them in that order, 1 to 5, and you'd like to go to college, so you get a good idea. If you do not put the local school that the other guy from in there, you can still do your interview, but you can't access your application. So it can't really help you if you have any questions outside of the interview. So I would make sure to put, I think it's like SDSU or something. I would make sure to put it at like slot number 5 or something, so that you can actually look at your other items and make sure that you're all clear and you can ask some questions and stuff.
It's great insight. Never heard that before, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's,
You think local to here, to like San Diego?
San Diego State.
Okay.
Put their school down so that he can basically review your son's data and give them updates as to where they're at.
for me, it was like, my, transcript was showing up as like, need attention or something, because they weren't submitting correctly. And I went to ask them, they're like, well, we can't review it, if our school isn't in your list. So I had to put their school in my list or something, like so.
Can you do more than 5 schools?
It's 5. But you can transfer your, once you get your, scholarship, you can transfer.
Yeah, you can change. Kids change their minds, you know what I mean? Decision back in the early fall, changed things.
You also have to keep in mind that you're gonna be putting these 5 schools in before you even get accepted.
Right.
So it's not really, hard, like, that's.
And speaking of those schools, there's different types of schools in which they tell you you must select from. You gotta decide if you wanna go to a military school or a regular school. You gotta decide if you receive a scholarship, from, Cadet Command, would you go to a historically black college? Okay, cause they all have to.
As well as your major.
As well as, yeah, you gotta decide on your major.
One of our seniors received a Navy ROTC scholarship, Imani, but if he wants to accept it, he has to change his major, his intended major.
At that school, right? Yeah. That's just the refinement piece of it all. Okay, I think, Andrew, you asked a question, when are the boards? Again, October, January, March. In order to go to the board, you gotta make sure all your stuff is done online and do the interview prior to that. Kids here at the Army Navy Academy, even though they walk away with an academy degree, they get a master's in procrastination. You guys follow me on that? Okay? Way too often, the guys on board is like tomorrow, and they're coming up to us, hey, can you give me a PT test, sir? Can you give me a? No. Get out of here, dude. You've been taught all this stuff, man. You got it. You got that stuff. Next slide. Again, as I alluded to earlier, back in the day, it was a full scholarship, tuition and room and board. Now, the National ROTC Scholarship only applies to either or, whichever one is more expensive. Okay? And like I said earlier, many institutions, they see, hey, I've got this cadet coming to me on an ROTC scholarship, what can we do to offset this burden right here? I think Palmer he got the full ride. Yeah, Citadel paid for, doing the board.
Did you say that senior military academies, it's a full like?
No.
No,
No, they're ROTCs, yep, yes ma'am. Senior military colleges, remember that old Norwich thing? Yep, they're ROTCs. They do get some perks, and what might that be? So, the Citadel, that's where my experience is, often had a reputation of like a factory for colonels. And so what that meant was, we got a lot of different, because there's competition once you leave college going into the military, right? And so let's just say I'm at some university that probably not doing too well. Big Army is not going to continue to give all these great, like, aviation slots. Give me some other slots that kids always like. Infantry, aviation, the cool jobs. Okay, there won't be a lot of cool jobs coming up at these universities where the ROTCs are slow. However, at the military colleges, the senior military colleges, they know the caliber of kids they get year after year. And so therefore, there'll be more infantry, there'll be more aviation, there'll be more of those cool jobs. Because they know the type of kids that are gonna fill the ranks of those. Does that make sense? All right. Yeah, there's that stipend I talked about, $420 a month. Next slide. So this kind of shows the process from start to finish, starting from top, moving down, the different stages that your son would be at, when they started the process in June, finishing up in March or even earlier than that. Okay, and this shows it right here. We talked about this stuff already. So the next couple slides will show you how to sign up for an account. You actually have to go through the goarmy.com, which is Big Army's recruiting enterprise, okay, and select ROTC scholarship. Ethan, did you do the Army one?
Yeah, the website's wrong.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. The
Well, we got
website,
slides, so.
yeah, it's just wrong.
Okay.
The lock rather wrong.
Yeah. Then you got a self-report, your GPA, your SATs, what have you. We just talked about the different categories of colleges that you have to select from. Take the PT test, conduct the interview. These boards, those 3 boards, those quarterly boards that we talked about, yep. And then Big Army will decide, it's a national board, so they'll come up with a cut line. These candidates above the cut line, they qualify. These candidates below, they'll get notified of being disqualified. All right? And then, huge database, is Big Army meeting the needs of the different types of schools out there? Military college, civilian college, HBCU, junior college, etc. And then they'll publish the results. Okay? Next slide. Anybody want to take a guess at that?
74. Somewhere around 74.
That's loud.
There's a lot.
Winner.
There's a lot. We talk in the national, we're spending time talking about the national process, but each school has its own campus-based scholarships. There's a whole bunch of different jobs. 4-year, 3-year, 2-year, 1-year scholarships. There's a lot. So the door, like I talked about earlier, okay, does not close in 12th grade. It continues all the way up until your senior year in college. That's right. And here's a little matrix that explains all that. I'll do my best to cover all of these different categories, but the line is basically the national scholarship. We got nurses scholarship, okay? This is reserves and National Guard scholarship. Language, you guys know, we're all over the world. We need smart young men who know or are willing to learn different languages. STEM scholarships, Green to gold, we talked about that earlier. Military Junior College, Colonel Morocco, our commandant here at the Citadel. He's a graduate of Norwich University and Cal State,
New Mexico.
No.
I'm sorry, New Mexico University, not Norwich, not to confuse the two. Opposite sides of the US. Norwich is in Vermont, New Mexico is in New Mexico, yeah. It's a 2-year, think of it like a community college, but it's military. It's a 2-year military junior college, all right, that provides different options there, okay? I'll talk about it right now. One of the great things about a military junior college is it's geared for that cadet who is ready to assume his place in life. Meaning like, he doesn't want to spend a lot of time in school getting educated, he wants to get into the Army, become an officer, and you know, climb through the ranks. So in 2 years, he can graduate from Norwich, all right? Earn his commission, become a second lieutenant.
You mean New Mexico?
Sorry, he can graduate from New Mexico, yeah. He would still have to complete 4 years of school, okay? Like Colonel Morocco, I think he went to Cal State Northridge, is that right? Yeah. He completed 2 years in New Mexico, then went 2 years at Cal State Northridge, excuse me.
Yeah, it's like I know it.
But during that time he was at Northridge, he was already serving in the reserve component as a second lieutenant getting paid. Okay? New Mexico Military Institution is one of the cheapest ways to earn your commissioning and start your career. Okay? I've had kids who, I don't have a kid who graduated NIMI, but I've heard of kids going there, joining the New Mexico Guard, and pretty much the whole cost of college, putting it on their shoulders versus their families. Okay, so that is definitely worth exploring. NIMI is the closest military junior college we have on the West Coast. Okay, you might have heard of like Valley Forge, what's some other ones? There's about 5 of them. Valley Forge and NIMI are the only ones that are popping in my head right now. Next slide. Oh, okay. All right. We already talked about that? Let's look at the demographics. Keep going. Yeah, this is the website. Ethan, you want to?
Oh, yeah, so you're gonna create a account on the Go Army website. You know, choose your passcode, all normal stuff. And then this is the portal I was talking about. So, I added it now.